This is Jamba. He is now about 1 year and 8 months old. And you're seeing Jamba kind of in his natural state. He will be getting a bath very soon because this weekend he'll be shown at a dog show. And so we want him looking his absolute best. But this is the way we're accustomed to seeing him. He still, I think, looks very good. And I thought I would share with you what I like about him and point out some of his positive attributes. And one word about that. When you watch a dog show and you see a judge going over a dog with his or her hands, watching the dog moving around the ring, what the judge should be looking for, and for every good judge it's what they are looking for, are the things that make the dog good. We try not to look for faults. When we do look for faults, that's actually referred to as fault judging. And since there is no such thing as a perfect dog, we could pick apart the faults of every single dog we see in the ring. But when we want to pick a winner, we're trying to pick the one that has all the best attributes, all the best positive qualities. So I'll tell you what I like about Jamba, and I'll show you some close-ups of that. When we judge a dog, one of the first things we look at is the head, especially with Cavaliers. Cavalier's type is determined very much by what the head looks like. My overall impression of Jamba's head is that it's plush and masculine, but it's not overdone. Overdone would be too much substance. Jamba has a very good amount of substance. You'll see his skull is ample. It's bigger than what you'd find in most of the female dogs that you examine, but it's appropriate for a male. Likewise for his muzzle is full. Oh, well, a good boy. Are you tired? I'm sorry. His muzzle is full. The lips cover his mouth nicely, but they're not droopy. His bite is good. His nose is nice and dark and black, which we want. His eyes are round and dark, which is what we want. There's plenty of cushioning under the eyes, which adds to that plush look in his head with the full muzzle. And his ears are set so that when we get his attention, you'll see those ears perk up, and even though the skull is obviously rounded on top, it gives kind of a flat look to the top of the skull. Looking from the side, I think his muzzle is of an appropriate length, supposed to be about 1.5 inches from the stop to the tip of the nose. So that all goes into making up a pretty picture of the head. But there's a lot more to the dog than the head that we have to look at. I think Jamba has a couple of very strong areas that we would look at. One would be what we refer to as the front angulation. The angles formed between the bones in the front end of the dog, the front assembly as we call it, are absolutely crucial in determining how nicely they move. And every dog has to be able to move. So what I normally do is, the first thing, I find the top of the shoulder blade. That's known as the withers, and that's where this hand is right now. Then I find the other end of the shoulder blade, which is where this hand is. Now, if you look at an imaginary line drawn along the shoulder blade and then back to the elbow, that should be just slightly more than a 90-degree angle. And I think he's quite well angulated there. The good angles in the front tie in very nicely with the neck and the appearance it gives. When he holds his head up, that neck shows a nice cresting, which it's supposed to. It's not supposed to be overly long, but it should be long enough so that this crest here, where it's muscled, is visible and can be felt. And that leads into what we call a very solid top line. A good, strong, solid top line helps the dog move very nicely. And then you'll notice it comes down, this is the area called the croup, and it comes down just slightly, and the tail is set so as to be carried pretty much straight out. And he's got a very lush tail also, which adds to that picture. Here's a photo of Jamba that was taken at a dog show when he was about a year old. And a couple of things you can see. You can see that top line quite solid and the tail extended almost level with it, which is really nice. Also, notice that front paw that's reaching out. It's actually reaching out past the tip of his nose, which indicates that he's got a lot of mobility in the front end, and that's what helps to propel him around the ring, and that's why that front angulation is so important. One other thing I like about Jamba is his chest. If you look, you'll see how the chest is up higher in this loin area, but I'm running my hand along the bottom of the rib cage, and you'll see how in this area where the internal organs, the heart, lungs, and so on are, the bottom of that rib cage should be approximately even with the elbow, which it is. Sometimes you'll also see a judge putting his or her hand right down here in between the legs, and that is feeling for what we usually refer to as fill. With a well-developed chest, very important for giving the internal organs proper room. I feel a really solid feeling there, and I also feel a little knobby protrusion called the prosternum. The prosternum is supposedly where all the ribcage growth comes from, so we want to have a prominent prosternum, which he does. So those are the things I like most about this boy. We'll get him looking good, and in a few days he'll be at the dog show, and I hope the judge sees all the same things that I see in him. Jamba, good boy.